So the average GDP per household, the average income for a household is very, very small. And in addition to that, there's all kinds of other problems in regards to the government and disease and other stuff. But one of the biggest issues that a lot of people don't know about is road safety. So road safety is something that's kind of like the most boring topic ever. I don't know, for a lot of people it must sound like that, but it's a huge issue in the developing world, really. So for the ages of 18 to 25, the number one cause of death in the developing world is road accidents. So that's really, really a surprising statistic. People don't realize this. It's not disease, it's not AIDS, it's not all these other diseases that we know about and that have a lot of publicity in the Western world. So road safety is a huge concern, not only to Tanzania and East Africa, but to other parts of the world, to India, to Southeast Asia, to China. And these different regions have to deal with road safety for a lot of different reasons. And the main one is there's not a lot of enforcement of regulations. You don't have police officers who are willing to regulate the roads. And in addition, if they are willing to regulate the roads, they are willing to accept bribes. And the second biggest reason is just the general lack of other forms of transportation. So people depend on public transportation in Tanzania in a way that they don't in the United States. So to get around the country, buses are pretty much your only route, the only option because they're the cheapest method. And so the buses are packed with people. In Tanzania, while I was there was an accident with one bus where it crashed. 47 people died in the accident because the bus was absolutely packed with people. So you have like 100 people packed into a bus. And when there is an accident, tons of people die because the bus is so packed with people. So it's not quite as idyllic as it looks in that picture. There were some expected things I experienced in my summer, like elephants, which was what I was expecting to see. There were some unexpected things. That's one of my fellow interns, Kale Clemenpeel. He's one of my Republican friends who's caulifloring the political side of stuff. That's the business case we came up with for USAID. So USAID provided the funding for our project, and I should delve into the research now more. So the research essentially deals with the randomized control trial, which is a term used in international development work for essentially an international development experiment. So in the sciences, you do an experiment by having a control group and a group that you change an independent variable for, right? So here, what we did was we got 1,500 buses, and we got another 1,500 buses, and we collected data. We're collecting data from all 3,000 buses. But what happens is 1,500 buses will have stickers that will essentially empower passengers to speak out if they see reckless driving by their driver. And the other 1,500 buses won't have stickers, but we'll still collect data from all those 1,500 buses. And the idea is, if you see a change in the number of accidents and the number of deaths in the 1,500 buses that have stickers, the buses have made an impact. So this is a way to kind of bring a scientific approach to international development work. A lot of international development work just throws money at issues without really seeing whether that money is going towards something that will make an impact in the long run. So one of the reasons we had to come up with a business case for USAID was they're funding the project, and the project is an expansion of a project that was in Kenya. And the project has a lot of different issues that it seeks to resolve. So the reason bus drivers drive recklessly in Tanzania isn't because they're reckless individuals and they're bad drivers. It's because they're trying to get to their locations as fast as possible. There's nobody stopping them from driving fast as possible. And in addition, you have passengers who are asking them to drive fast. So the passengers themselves are, I have to be in Mbeya, Tanzania by 6 a.m. tomorrow, you have to drive a little bit faster. So the passengers, a lot of times, are actually the ones who are asking the drivers to drive faster. So they drive fast, and they do something that's called overtaking, which if you've been in Tanzania or in Eastern Europe, it's very common on a two-lane road. You'll just overtake the car in front of you, even though you're like driving in the wrong lane. And oftentimes that's where those accidents happen that like kill a bunch of people. So the sticker project was called Funguka, which in Swahili means speak out. We had a problem because in Kenya it was called Zusha, And so Swahili in Kenya is a little bit different from Swahili in Tanzania. So this is one of the issues we were dealing with. And apparently in Kenya, Zusha means to like cry out, to speak out, which is like similar to funguka. But Zusha in Tanzania means to slander someone. So we of course have to change the name. And it's something you don't really realize, that like the subtle changes in meanings of words. This is caustic. So Tanzania has some interesting issues with regulations. So I don't know if you heard about the Ivory issue in Tanzania. They had a recent report, some international organization had a recent report that showed like half of the elephants in Tanzania had died over the past year. And so the Tanzanian government got very mad because they didn't believe those statistics. And so they created this regulation that essentially required all international organizations who are working with any kind of data to go through the government, which makes things very difficult. So we had to do a bunch of applications to COSTEC to make sure that we were in compliance with Tanzanian law. So these are the professors who are doing this project. They're awesome guys. If you guys are interested in learning more about Zusha or Funguka, or if you're interested in applying for an internship this summer, I'd highly recommend it. It's an amazing opportunity to learn more about international development research. And they're really cool people, essentially. Look into USAID if you're interested in working in international development. They have internships as well for the summer. And you can also look into road safety in general. It's a huge issue. A lot of people don't think of it as such, but it is a very important issue, especially in the developing world. And I have some pictures now to share with you guys. These are the buses, what they look like. This is in Gadea, where I was one of the regions I was focused on. And so these are kind of what the buses look like. When they're packed, they're full of people, and the drivers drive really scary. We had a fellow Tanzanian who was working with us named Stella, and Stella got into an accident while we were in Tanzania. So she was in a bus that got into an accident. So you don't realize how many accidents happen in these parts of the world, and how important this is to solve, really. You can make a big impact. This project is the stickers cost so little that it's one of the most price-efficient methods of saving lives. So if you go online, you can find the research paper that the Professor Billy Jack and Javier Mena did on this project in Zusha in Kenya. And you can see how much it costs to save a human life. So they show in Kenya, this project cut down accidents by a rate of 60%, and it cut down deaths by a rate of 50%, which is enormous for just some stickers on a bus. The idea is you empower people, and people make the difference in their own lives. You're not making a difference in their lives. They're simply being empowered because they see that message, and subconsciously they feel a greater need to speak out. So you can make a huge impact in other people's lives by simply empowering them and telling them they have the power to change their own lives. So the people who speak out can save lives, and the number of lives that are saved at a very low cost. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the presentation. I'm just going to click through the other pictures I have here. These are the bus terminals. And Tanzania is going through a lot of changes. It's growing very rapidly. I strongly recommend visiting. They have a great tourist culture. I love the safari I went on. The people are super nice, and I learned so much. So if you're going to choose between consulting or international development, I think this is more fun. So that's my presentation. Thank you guys.